Incredible transformation, dying millionaire discovered hope when one brave doctor risked it all. Harold Jenkins watched the world from his mansion, a gilded cage perched atop the hills of Maplewood. Once a titan of real estate, now a frail shadow of his former self, he dwelled within cold, extravagant walls draped in regrets. Those winding hallways echoed with the ghosts of opportunistic deals that twisted his heart. Scrolls of paperwork littered his desk, but the real weight rested heavily on his chest. A terminal cancer diagnosis had not just stolen his health, it unveiled the hollowness of his pursuits. Days turned into nights surrounded by luxuries he no longer cherished. Family reunions became distant memories, laughter faded away, and every corner of his home felt like a reminder of his failures. But beneath his ocean of despair, a tiny spark flickered until Dr. Emily Carter stepped into his life. Emily was everything Harold had scoffed at. Bright-eyed and determined, she devoted herself to serving Maplewood's underserved. She spent long hours in the clinic, tirelessly fighting systemic inequalities that Harold had always seen as inconveniences. When he first met her in his hospital bed, triage chaos swirled around her, and she emerged like a beacon, a stark contrast to his world of polished steel and glass. "Mr. Jenkins," she said, her voice slicing through the sterile air, "we need to talk about your treatment plan." He looked away, unwilling to acknowledge the warmth of her spirit. "I'm not sure this is worth the trouble," he muttered, but deep inside, something stirred. Their relationship indeed began with friction. She challenged his views on the community, igniting confusion within him. The famished, weary faces that Emily fought for were the very individuals he had dismissed. As days passed in the hospital bleached by fluorescent lights, Harold watched Emily struggle against the tide of need, gaining glimpses of the selflessness he'd abandoned. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As he waited for biopsies and treatment updates, he felt a flicker of hope bloom. Through Emily's eyes, compassion reframed the way he perceived his life. She challenged him at every turn. "You want to leave a legacy? Use your wealth to help, not control," she insisted. A pivotal confrontation erupted in the hospital break room one afternoon. She stood amid posters touting community health programs, a fire in her eyes, grappling with frustration. "What are your real motives, Harold? You can't fix this with dollars." For the first time, Harold's composed mask began to crack. Anguish engulfed him as if the weight of his past crashed over him, a lifetime of selfish ambition washed away by the power of a single voice. Hot tears brimmed his eyes, blurring his vision. Was there still time to change? As his heart raced alongside his mind, he confronted the stark reality: could he find redemption, or would he remain trapped in the shadows of the man he once was? The days that followed that fateful encounter became a blur of emotion for Harold. He lay on his hospital bed, staring at the white walls that seemed to close in on him. The whispers of regret lingered, but Emily's words echoed louder, offering him a sliver of hope. Could he actually use his resources for something greater? He began to contemplate his wealth differently. What had once seemed like power felt brittle now. He could see the truth in Emily's eyes. People were suffering, and that suffering wasn't just a problem to be solved, it was a story waiting to be written. Harold sighed, closing his eyes, immersing himself in her vision of compassion. Maybe it was time to step outside the gilded cage he had built around himself. Emily continued her rounds, always smiling, even amid the heart-wrenching scenes unfolding around them. Her laughter rang against the stark hospital walls like music, while Harold fought against the darkness creeping at the corners of his mind. Slowly, he started to engage with her. It began with small conversations about health initiatives, which transformed into deeper discussions about community, poverty, and how his wealth could change lives rather than merely boast his status. His reflections deepened. He remembered the charity gala he had hosted years ago, not out of a desire to help, but to make an impression, superficial as it might have been. Now, every photo in his mind bore the faces of the people he had failed to see, marginalized and forgotten. That restless anger within him began to shift, and Harold felt a yearning no longer for validation, but for connection and purpose. One bleak Thursday, as rain tapped against the windowpane, Harold mustered the courage to take a step forward. He didn't know what the future held for him, but for once, he wanted to grasp that future rather than passively await his fate. After some intense soul-searching, he reached out to Emily, requesting a meeting. "Harold," she answered, her brows knitting together in surprise. "Are you sure you want to talk?" He nodded, feeling a nervous energy coursing through him. "Yeah, we need to discuss those community health programs you mentioned." Her eyes widened, disbelief flashing across her face before she grinned, a bright light illuminating her expression. "You mean you're interested in supporting them?" In that moment, he recognized a change in her, the hope bubbling beneath the surface. It filled the air between them like electricity. This was the beginning of something different, he could feel it in his bones. Over the next few weeks, they collaborated, poring over programs that could revitalize both community health and his own spirit. Harold had never felt more alive, discussing ideas with Emily, viscerally engaged. He tapped into resources long dormant, pouring investment into initiatives that provided healthcare access for the less fortunate. Yet, as his intentions evolved, so did his illness. Suddenly, Harold faced reality in a new way. His health deteriorated quicker than anticipated. Every hospital visit became a chilling reminder of time slipping away. One night, while watching the rain splatter against the window, an unexpected sense of desperation clawed at him. He reached for the phone. "Emily. I need to talk," he spoke, his heart heavy. "Things are getting worse." Tension filled the air. "I'll be there in 15, she replied, her voice steady and determined. As Harold waited, he wondered if he had done enough. Was he really making a difference? What if it was too late to see the ripple of his work? When Emily arrived, he could see concern etched on her brow, mixed with hope. "You won't believe the difference your contributions are making, Harold," she said softly. "People are starting to get the care they need." As her words flowed, he couldn't shake the feeling of urgency surging within him. Was it truly just about the programs? Or was it about healing himself? With darkness looming, Harold shifted in his bed, deciding this wasn't just a fight for life, but a fight for legacy too. Would he have the strength to rally for change, or would he become just another fading memory? Just as he began to share his fears, the door creaked open, allowing a wave of light to drift in. It was time to confront what lay ahead, one way or another. Harold's heart raced as he took a deep breath, ready to share everything that had been gnawing at him. He could feel the weight of unspoken words pressing against his chest, and for the first time, he understood that silence wouldn't save him. "Emily," he started, his voice trembling slightly. "I've been thinking about all of this. About my life and this illness. It's terrifying." He cursed the catch in his throat, but he pressed on. "I want to leave something behind, something real." Emily leaned closer, her gaze unwavering. "We all want that, Harold. But you know this isn't just about what you can leave behind. It's about what you can give now. Right now," he murmured, his eyes darting to the window where the rain had begun to fall harder. The world outside seemed so alive, while he felt more like a ghost inhabiting this room. "If I can't change my fate, can I at least change theirs?" "Absolutely," she replied passionately. "You can continue to shape their futures, and yours doesn't have to end here. You've already begun to make a difference." Harold clenched his fist. Once, he would have dismissed her words as motivational fluff. Now, they sparked something deep within him. Maybe this was the fight, his fight not just against the illness but for meaning. The days turned into a cascade of ideas. With Emily's help, he discovered that the urban community targeted for their health programs had woven a tapestry of stories, struggles, and dreams. Each meeting, they unearthed potential. Families were longing for stable healthcare, and there was a passion rising in Harold that felt foreign but exhilarating, but there were moments when despair tangled with hope. Some evenings, lying in his bed, tears would spill at the sheer weight of what lay ahead. Would any of this be enough? One late afternoon, as twilight draped its soft veil over the hospital, Emily brought something unexpected. It was a booklet titled Voices from the Community. "Read this," she urged, her smile encouraging. Harold flipped through it, reading testimonials from families who had received help through initiatives like the ones he was supporting. Hopeful scribes of gratitude spoke not only of services but of friendships created, lives changed, and an emerging sense of belonging. "I didn't know this was reaching them," he whispered, tears of gratitude forming in his eyes. He felt primed, like he could finally see the glow of impact, but before he could dwell too long in this moment, a sudden coughing fit racked his body. As he gasped for air, a panic washed over him. Emily jumped up, concern knitting her brow. "Whoa, take it slow," she urged gently. "Just breathe. Focus on me." As she guided him through deep, steady breaths, Harold's reality crashed back into his consciousness. The truth inescapable, time was precious, and he was fighting against more than just doubt. Would he really have enough time to see his vision blossom, to last beyond these hospital walls? When he finally settled back against his pillows, something shifted within him. His fear couldn't immobilize him any longer. "Emily," he said, his voice stronger now. "I want to expand this, to build it into a movement. We need to inspire more people to care, to get involved." Her eyes sparkled. "That's the spirit. What do you have in mind?" As they talked late into the night, ideas flowed like the rain outside, unstoppable and alive. But in the middle of their discussion, Harold's vision blurred, and darkness threatened to swirl around him once more. "Harold? Are you okay?" Emily's voice broke through the haze. I don't know how much time I have. But I want to be part of something bigger than myself, something that lasts." He reached for her hand, and in that moment, he felt more alive than he had in years. With determination burning in his chest, the wheels began to turn, igniting a new plan that felt more significant than his illness. Tomorrow, they would start the groundwork for this vision, one that could connect lives near and far. But as he drifted to sleep beneath the soft hum of the hospital machines, anxiety curled at his edges. Would he see this dream come to fruition, or had he entered one battle too many? A new dawn awaited them. Would it bring hope or heartbreak? Morning sunlight spilled through the window, casting gentle rays on the hospital room. Harold slowly woke, feeling the weight of yesterday's conversations lingering on his mind. They hadn't just been about illness, they had ignited a fire within him, a desire to fight for a cause that mattered. His plan was beginning to take shape, but the fear of failure gnawed at him. "Today's the day," he muttered to himself, clutching the thin blanket over him like a shield against doubt. Emily arrived shortly after, her bright smile cutting through the morning gloom. "I brought breakfast," she announced cheerfully, her hands expertly balancing a tray adorned with toast, fresh fruit, and steaming coffee. "Wow, you're officially the best patient advocate," he joked, smiling weakly as she set the tray on the small table beside his bed. "I try." She grinned, but her eyes were serious. "How are you feeling?" "Better, I think. More determined." She nodded, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. "We're in this together, remember?" As he savored a bite of toast, Harold's thoughts drifted back to their discussion about building a movement. "Emily, I want to put together a community meeting. We can invite families, healthcare workers, and advocates. Start a dialogue. Get everyone involved." Her eyes widened. "That's brilliant. We can create a real platform for these families to share their stories. It could be a game changer." What if Harold's voice faltered as he considered the daunting reality of turning an idea into action? What if no one shows up? What if I'm just wasting everyone's time? "Stop that right now." Emily cut in, her voice firm but kind. You have to believe that what you're doing matters. Remember those testimonials. People want to connect. You can facilitate that. I hope so, he murmured, a mix of hope and anxiety coursing through him. As they laid out the details for the meeting, Harold could feel his heart quickening. They brainstormed locations, potential dates, and, of course, how to spread the word. Each idea seemed to pull him further from despair, but an undercurrent of fear still swirled beneath the surface. How do you want to start this off? Emily asked, her pen poised over her notebook. I think I should talk about my journey. Open up about my diagnosis. If I'm honest with my struggles, maybe it will inspire others to share theirs. Absolutely, she agreed. Vulnerability can create powerful connections. Surrounded by the sterile smell of antiseptic and the soft hum of machines, something shifted in Harold. He began to envision a room full of people, their lives intertwined in shared experiences, each face reflecting not just struggle, but incredible resilience. As they wrapped up their planning, thoughts of the meeting filled him with both excitement and apprehension. Can we do this? Can I make this happen? Emily's gaze softened. You can, Harold. You're stronger than you think. Just remember, progress isn't always linear. It's okay to have doubts, but don't let them hold you back. With a renewed sense of purpose, he looked into her eyes, feeling a swell of gratitude. Thank you for believing in me, Emily. I honestly don't know where I'd be without your support. You'd still be a brilliant but scared guy with a big heart, she laughed lightly, but it was the sincerity behind her words that resonated with him. As their conversation turned to logistics, a shadow flickered across Harold's mind. What if his health took a turn? What if today was the last opportunity to mobilize this vision? He pushed the thought away, forcing himself to focus. So, we tackle this meeting head-on, and then what? Emily paused, her expression shifting to one of reflection. Then we see how much of an impact you've made. Whether it's a small gathering or a large turnout, it will matter. And after that, the next step will come. The surge of responsibility weighed heavy on his shoulders, but alongside it was a sense of urgency. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore, he was drawing strength from the community, the very essence of life itself. As the meeting day approached, uncertainty encircled him once again. Heartbeats echoed like a drum in his ears. Do you think I can really inspire change? What if it falls flat? We'll never know unless you try, Emily reminded him, her voice unwavering. What's waiting on the other side of that fear? Then, unexpectedly, the door swung open, drawing their attention. A hospital intern entered, clutching a clipboard and looking flustered. Excuse me, is Harold Reed here? We need to discuss a significant update regarding your treatment. Harold's pulse quickened, dread pooling in his stomach. What could this mean? Yes, that's me, he replied, his voice nearly a whisper. The intern looked at him, clearly struggling to maintain a professional tone. We've just received some new information about your diagnosis. Emily's grip tightened around his hand, and in that moment, Harold wondered if their plans would be the least of his worries. What news would the intern bring? Would it push him further away from his dreams? His heart raced, tension coiling in his chest. Everything was about to change, but would it be for the better? The intern shifted awkwardly, stealing glances between Harold and Emily, as if he were the bearer of a heavy secret. I know this is difficult to process, Mr. Reed, but the lab results have come back. There's a clarification regarding your diagnosis. Harold tried to steady his breaths, but anxiety surged, turning his palms clammy. What does it say? The intern hesitated, his eyes flicking to the clipboard. In light of your recent treatments, we believe there may have been an initial misinterpretation of your condition. You've shown signs of improvement that we didn't anticipate. Harold's heart pounded. Improvement? That sounded surreal. Emily leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. What do you mean? The intern straightened, collecting himself. Our medical team now thinks that while your condition is serious, it doesn't carry the same prognosis we initially suggested. We believe additional treatment options might lead to significant improvements. Harold blinked, processing the words. Was it possible? Just yesterday he had felt the heavy weight of hopelessness, and now there was a glimmer. So, there's a chance. An encouraging one, the intern confirmed. While we need to proceed cautiously, we recommend exploring a new treatment protocol. It's experimental but has shown promise in cases like yours. Emily's grip around Harold's hand tightened even more, her eyes sparkling with cautious hope. This is incredible. Harold, this could change everything. Joy began to swell deep within him, warming his chest as doubt momentarily dissipated. He could feel his dreams trailing back into focus, leading a community, sharing stories, connecting faces. But there's a risk, right? He murmured, returning to the fear that never strayed far. What if it doesn't work? What if? Every treatment has its risks, Harold, Emily interjected gently, her voice steadying the storm inside him. But wouldn't you want to at least try? For yourself? For others? Everything you envisioned could still be possible. Harold took a deep breath, the joy and the worry swirling together. This was not only about him. It was about the movement he wanted to create. I might have a chance to fight, he thought. Yes, he finally said, a determination simmering within him. Let us move forward with the new treatment. The intern nodded, relief wiping away some fear from his face. I can arrange for our medical team to start drafting a plan. You'll need to consult with the specialists, but we have hope, Harold. Hope. The word felt foreign yet familiar, like sunlight breaking through dark clouds. After the intern left, silence settled between them, thick with emotion. Harold found himself tearing up. Emily, what if this is everything? What if I can actually make a difference? Tears glimmered in her eyes as she smiled widely. You already have, just by considering it. And now it's time to share that hope with others. The meeting, Harold. You can amplify this hope, and connect with others who may need it more than you realize. The prospect of the meeting now felt monumental. I can weave my story into a broader narrative. With this opportunity my experience can inspire others, just as you believed I could. Yes. She encouraged, her excitement palpable. And don't forget, it's not just about the diagnosis anymore, it's about how we all face our battles. Harold sat up straighter, that fire inside reigniting. The realization hit him, he had a platform now to inspire, to connect, to change lives. The vision of a room filled with shared stories felt tangible, closer than it ever had. Change was on the horizon. As they began to map out plans for the community meeting once again, the door opened cautiously, revealing the chief doctor. This was someone who carried authority and experience. Harold, he began, stepping into the room with an air of importance. We need to discuss the next steps in your treatment and how we can synergize this with your plans moving forward. Harold's heart raced once more. The doctor's presence brought weighty significance. Would this pivotal moment propel him further into his fight, or would the complexity of treatment ground him in uncertainty? Everything was about to converge: his health, the meeting, the community. The stakes had risen. Would he rise to the challenge? Or would this be another obstacle in a journey constantly marred by doubt? The question hung in the air, electric with possibility. The chief doctor stepped forward, eyes locked onto Harold, an intensity radiating from him that both inspired and frightened. Harold, the new treatment we discussed is called immunotherapy. It's innovative, but will need your full participation and commitment. Of course, Harold replied, the weight of his own resolve settling in. I want to do everything I can. The doctor continued, laying out a plan filled with medical jargon, but Harold focused on the underlying message: they were finally taking a different path, one that offered hope. He nodded along, trying to absorb every detail, but the images of the community meeting replayed in his mind, the faces of potential listeners, their stories waiting to connect with his. As the doctor detailed the specifics, Harold caught Emily's gaze. She was watching him intently, her expression both hopeful and fierce. He could see the conviction settle in her features, and it bolstered his own courage. "Can you help me get ready for the meeting, Emily?" "Absolutely," she said, a smile breaking through her concern. "You'll blow them away. Together, we'll make this happen." After a long discussion filled with protocols and best practices, the doctor turned to leave, but Harold's voice stopped him. "Sir, can you tell me if this doesn't work, what's the next step?" The doctor paused, his expression softening, a hint of compassion breaking through his professional demeanor. "Life is unpredictable, Harold. It's essential to have hope, but it's also wise to remain prepared. There may be alternative therapies, palliative care options will keep your comfort and quality of life as a priority." The somber reality threatened to dim the excitement swelling inside him. "I understand," Harold replied, though he hoped it wouldn't come to that. He felt Emily's hand squeeze his, a silent promise shared between them that they were in this together. Once the doctor left, Harold and Emily began sketching out ideas for the meeting. Each suggestion ignited a new burst of energy. They brainstormed themes overcoming uncertainty, embracing vulnerability, and the collective strength in shared experiences. "Let us start with your story," Emily urged. "What about the first time you realized you wanted to help others?" Harold's mind flickered back to a gathering he had once attended, a rough neighborhood meeting where he first connected with lost souls seeking closure. It was there, he recalled, eyes lighting up as he spoke. "I shared my struggles and dreams. It felt like I wasn't alone." "Exactly," Emily said, smiling wide. "Your journey is what makes you relatable. Others need to see that it's okay to fight, to share pain, to find joy amidst turmoil." As they sketched ideas and mapped out possible stories, they laughed, dreamed, and fueled each other's spirits. It felt like building a bridge, one that would stretch from his heart to those in need of hope. Each note, each shared experience made it more real. Just as Harold began to feel the warmth of anticipation, an unexpected silence swept over the room. He turned to see the intern again, this time stepping in with an urgency that immediately set off alarm bells in Harold's mind. Mr. Reed, there is something we need to address. Something important that just came to light regarding your treatment plan." Harold's heart sank. Was the good news turning once more into a daunting shadow? The hope they embraced now felt fragile, a lit candle flickering in a growing wind. "Is it bad?" Harold whispered, gripping the edge of the table. "We need to discuss potential side effects and adjustments, and there's more." The room felt charged as Harold and Emily exchanged alarmed glances. Was this moment going to tear apart everything they had just begun to build? What lay ahead felt uncertain, a precipice of potential disruption looming over their newfound hope. Would Harold's courage withstand the impending storm? Or would it shatter before it even began? The intern shifted nervously, glancing between Harold and Emily, who looked ready to burst with questions. The air felt heavy, thick with unspoken fears and anticipation. "Mr. Reed, I understand you're eager to start, but we need to consider the realities of the situation," he said softly. "The immunotherapy treatment can come with more than just physical challenges. There's a possibility of severe reactions." "Reactions?" Harold felt his stomach drop. "What kind of reactions?" "It varies for each patient, but fatigue, nausea, and sometimes, more serious complications can arise," the intern replied, his voice strained. "We'll be monitoring everything closely, but we just want to prepare you." Harold swallowed hard, the words swirling in his mind like a storm. The hope he'd just sparked felt like it might extinguish. "And the adjustments?" he asked, his heart racing. "Some patients experience a flare-up of their symptoms before they start improving," the intern continued cautiously. "We just want you to be mentally ready." Emily stepped closer, her hand resting on Harold's shoulder. It was a steady anchor in the tumult of his thoughts. "Harold, what do you want to do?" We've come this far, right? This plan could really help. I know, he exhaled sharply, trying to piece together what he wanted. But what if it doesn't? What if I'm just chasing after something that would leave me in pain? Every journey has its risks, Emily said, her eyes fierce with determination. But maybe it's about more than you. It's about everyone you'll reach with your story. With every battle you fight, you're letting others know they're not alone. The intern nodded, understanding their plight. That's true. Sharing your experiences can inspire others. This treatment might be tough, but there's potential for incredible change. Harold glanced at the intern, then back at Emily. Was she right? Could he rise above the pain, become a beacon, a voice for those stuck in darkness? Okay, I'm in, he reaffirmed suddenly, his resolve resurfacing. I'll stick to the treatment. I want to fight this. Emily beamed, her pride radiating off her. That's the spirit. We're in this together, every step of the way. As the conversation shifted to logistics, a flicker of resolve ignited within Harold. A wave of enthusiasm washed over him, pushing the fear into the background. It was exhilarating to imagine sharing this journey with others, to stand in front of the community and let them see he was grappling with the same shadows they faced. However, a lingering doubt skated on the edge of his mind, whispering that this journey might come at a cost. The thought threatened to pull him back down into uncertainty and sadness. Days passed, each filled with testing and preparation. Harold felt the weight of impending vulnerability as he mentally geared up for the meeting. Though fear loomed large, the spark of purpose refused to extinguish. When the day finally arrived, Harold stood before an audience composed of familiar faces, each carrying their burdens. His heart raced as he took in their expressions, some curious, others anxious. Hello, everyone, he began, his voice steadier than he felt. I'm here to share my journey and, maybe, we can find hope together. But even as he spoke, the anticipation turned electric, transforming into anxiety. He couldn't ignore the gnawing worry about what the fallout of his treatment might bring. Would this decision open doors for him, or would it lead to heartbreak, not just for him but for everyone who had shown up expecting hope? As he prepared to dive deeper into his story, a voice in the back interrupted, cutting through the mounting tension. But what if it doesn't work, Harold? What then? The question hung in the air, stark and piercing. In that moment, Harold realized the journey was just beginning, and the real challenge lay ahead, with repercussions not just for him but for all he sought to uplift. Would he have the strength to face the unknown? Harold stood frozen, heart racing, as he looked into the eyes of his audience. The voice from the back echoed in his mind, a relentless reminder of the reality he was about to step into. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into a chasm that yawned with uncertainty. What if it didn't work? He took a deep breath, the air filling his lungs like a cool wave washing over hot sand. You're right, he answered, his voice trembling but fierce. What if it doesn't? What if I fall? But what if I rise? What if I find something incredible, something I didn't even know I was searching for? The murmur of the crowd settled, they leaned in closer, hanging on to his every word. Harold could see hope flickering like candle flames in their eyes. Instinct kicked in, pushing him forward. I won't pretend this journey is easy. The hospital is going to put me through the ringer, and I might stumble. I might even break. But I refuse to accept that my story ends with despair. Emily nodded, her smile a beacon in the dim light of the auditorium. She lifted her hand in encouragement, giving him the push he needed. Her faith in him coursed through him like adrenaline. He let the energy build inside, wrapping it around his fear and turning it into something more powerful. So let us face it together. Whether it's the pain of the treatments, the fear of the unknown, or those sleepless nights filled with worry, just know you're not alone. If I have to take this journey, I want to take it with all of you. Maybe my fight can be a light for someone else who feels lost, he said, his voice gaining strength with each word that he could see them absorbing his words, the doubts etched on their faces beginning to soften. But, he shook his head gently, returning to the reality of treatment and its toll, we also need to be honest. This will be tough. I might have my ups and downs, and there are no guarantees. I wish I could tell you I'll come through this without scars, but life doesn't work like that. A soft murmur of understanding flowed through the room. Harold spotted an older woman with tears in her eyes, her hands clasped tightly together. She motioned for Harold to continue, and it fueled him. I'm sharing my hopes and fears because we need to talk about this. It's okay to feel scared. It's okay to think about the what-ifs. What's important is that we support each other. We lean on one another as we face whatever comes our way, he implored, the urgency sharp in his voice. As he finished, applause rippled through the audience, lifting the weight of uncertainty off his shoulders. For a moment, it felt as though they had collectively decided to march into the unknown together. Hope was becoming a shared promise, something tangible, yet, just as the lights began to dim, another voice broke the euphoric tide. What if you can't do it, Harold? How do we support you when things get hard? The question hung in the air, profound and heavy. Harold's heart sank even as it sparked another revelation. The ultimate test would be not just for his own resolve, but for the community standing behind him. The truth is, he said slowly, I don't know yet. But what I want to find out, what I need now, is how to transform that fear into strength. I need all of you to help me, to remind me not to give up. The audience sat in stillness, absorbing his plea. It wasn't just about him anymore, it was a bond forged in this shared vulnerability. Maybe, just maybe, this journey could mean something more. As he wrapped up, Harold felt the flicker of determination reignite. The journey ahead would not be easy, but it wouldn't be faced alone. Will you stand with me? He asked, meeting the gaze of every person in the room, awaiting their answer. An electric silence fell, charged with unspoken commitments, as everyone leaned forward, eager to be part of something bigger. In that moment, Harold realized that together they could explore the depths of what they feared, and perhaps, find a way to transform it into something incredible. But as he turned away from the podium, anticipation made him pause. What challenges awaited on this unexplored path? What scars might they bear, and would the cost of hope be higher than he ever expected? The journey was just beginning. Stepping off the stage, Harold felt lighter, as though a weight had lifted. The crowd may have gone silent, but it wasn't an absence of sound that he felt, it was a charged energy, an electric connection binding him to everyone in the room. He caught Emily's eye again, her smile still wide, filled with pride. As he moved toward her, he could tell that she shared in this new hope. You did it, Harold. You really did it, she said softly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Yeah, I guess I did, he replied, still riding the wave of adrenaline coursing through him. But beneath that thrill, there was a flicker of doubt. What would tomorrow bring? What if he faltered when it mattered most? Hey, Emily said, gently taking his arm. You're going to be okay. We're in this together, remember? He nodded, hoping it was true, even as fleeting worries crept into his mind. As the auditorium emptied, laughter and chatter filled the air, but Harold felt distant from it. People came up to him, extending warm congratulations, sharing their own stories, and he smiled through it all. Inside, he was still processing. Thank you for breaking down those walls, one young man said, his sincerity evident. It was hard to talk about my own struggles, but your bravery made it feel possible. The shared vulnerability warmed Harold's heart, but at the same time stirred a worry deep within him. What if he couldn't keep living up to those expectations? After mingling with well-wishers, Harold finally stepped outside into the cool evening air. The sky was a deep navy, peppered with the first stars flickering to life. He leaned against the rough brick of the building, breathing deeply. He had spoken about facing fears with his community, but what if his fears overwhelmed him? Are you okay? Emily's voice broke through his reverie. Yeah, I'm just thinking, he admitted. This whole thing, it feels surreal. It's okay to feel that way, she replied, leaning against him. Do you need a moment alone to process? It's a lot to absorb. No, he said quickly, shaking his head. I need you here, actually. I want to talk. They both fell silent for a moment, watching as the night wrapped around them. What comes next? He finally whispered, his voice uneasy. How do we face tomorrow? Emily turned to him, her expression earnest. We take it step by step. You said it yourself, the hardest part is building a support system, and you have one now. You're not alone. Harold felt a warmth unfurl inside him. But what if I fail them? What if they face my pain and tumble down with me? Emily scoffed lightly, shaking her head. You're not a burden. You're human. And humans stumble. What matters is getting back up, alongside each other. That's how we grow. Right, he said, though the apprehension lingered. I guess I just don't know what growth looks like when the ground shifts beneath you. Then let us uncover it together, she encouraged, her confidence radiating. The road ahead won't be straightforward, and it might be bumpy, but it'll be our road. One filled with honesty, love, and laughter. Don't let fear dim your light. As they stood there under the foamy glow of street lamps, Harold felt an oasis of hope begin to bloom. Something remarkable could come from this, he realized. There was a journey ahead filled with uncertainty, but also filled with the possibility of transformation. What if I don't just survive but truly thrive? He asked softly, imagining the different paths his life might take. Exactly. And who knows what incredible things lie ahead? Emily smiled, nudging him playfully. With newfound determination, Harold made a silent promise to himself. He would give this journey his all, harnessing that hope, holding it close. But as the stars blinked overhead, a nagging question lingered: what if the road to thriving took him through struggles he never saw coming? The night felt expansive, filled with opportunity, but also the whisper of unseen challenges waiting just around the corner. Harold awoke in his hospital room to a chorus of beeping monitors and the soft murmur of nurses in the halls. The sunlight poured through the window, an unexpected warmth on his skin. He felt different today, lighter, almost buoyant, as if something within him had shifted overnight. His mind raced back to the meeting, the energy in that room, the shared hopes, and what it truly meant to lift each other up. When Emily walked in, her smile lit up the space. Good morning, sunshine. Morning. He replied, a genuine grin breaking across his face. The heaviness that had clouded his spirit felt like a distant memory. How did you sleep? Honestly, I think I finally got some real rest, Harold admitted, inhaling deeply. It's like my purpose is clearer now. I can see the path ahead. That's amazing. Your strength is inspiring, she encouraged, her pride shining through her admiration. Today we can take even more steps. Are you ready? Let us do this. He said with gusto. He felt a surge of purpose, as if he could tackle anything the world threw at him. Through the day, they mapped out plans, strategizing how to expand on the ideas they had planted. Harold pored over notes from the meeting, every story shared serving as a compass guiding his actions. They foster dialogues, create outreach programs, and bring people together in ways he had never imagined were possible. As they worked, Emily's excitement was contagious and Harold's heart swelled with hope. With determination driving them, they began drafting a community health fair, a festival of connection that would weave through the very fabric of Maplewood. Ideas blossomed: information booths, free checkups, wellness workshops. As Harold dug deeper, he noticed a shift within himself. Gone were the shackles of greed that once bound him. Instead, he was fueled by the connections he was forming with members of his community. Scenes filled his mind, families laughing, children running, voices exchanging encouragement. But as the sun began to set, casting a golden hue through the window, a wave of fear washed over him. Emily, he said, his voice steadier than his insides felt, what if I can't follow through? What if I'm not strong enough to withstand the treatment and the planning? Emily leaned in closer, her eyes widening with earnest resolve. Harold, the journey's not about perfection, it's about trying, and it's about togetherness. When you feel weak, lean on us. That's what community means. You have so many people rooting for you. His heart raced with the shared aspirations of everyone who believed in him. This wasn't just his fight anymore. Days turned into weeks, the treatment wearing on him, but along with the fatigue came the thrill of the upcoming health fair. Harold learned to adapt, embracing the fatigue as part of the process and opportunity to rely on the love and strength of those around him. When the day of the health fair finally arrived, the air buzzed with excitement. The sun shined brightly, illuminating the transformation in the park booths, music, laughter. As he approached the bustling area, Harold's pulse quickened, the energy around him igniting a spark deep inside. Couples wandered hand in hand, children danced to upbeat music, and there, under a bright tent, were neighborhood faces, those who had shared hopes and struggles, who had reached out and connected. It was a perfect reflection of how far he'd come. "Are you ready?" Emily asked, standing beside him. "I think so," Harold replied, apprehension flickering briefly in his chest before deflating. "No backing down now. Just speak from the heart. No one expects perfection, only honesty." As he stepped up to the makeshift stage, he felt the warmth and support from the crowd. "Hey, everyone," he spoke, mirroring the joy he saw around him. "I'm Harold, and I want to share my journey. It's not just mine anymore. It's ours." With every word, the fear dwindled, he poured out his heart, vulnerabilities laid bare for everyone to hear. The laughter and empathy resonated, breaking down the barriers each person carried. The crowd erupted into applause, and one by one, people began to share their struggles, overcoming illness, battling heartbreak, embracing change. That sacred space wove a tapestry of shared humanity. That evening, as Harold packed up his belongings, he felt a swelling sense of fulfillment deep within. Every scar, every trial, every moment of doubt had led him here. "Harold," Emily said, her eyes sparkling with excitement, "you did it. You really did it." "I couldn't have without you, Emily," he replied, sincerity dripping from every word. "You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. Remember that as you continue this journey. Through it all, you'll grow, and your impact will ripple through the lives of so many." Tears welled in his eyes, gratitude pouring through him. He finally felt connected to something larger. It was a web of faith and purpose woven with care and love. Harold knew now he wasn't alone on this journey. He had a community, a newfound family. In that moment, Harold understood he would not just survive, he would thrive. Life was uncertain, but it was also bursting with possibility. As the moonlight painted the park in silver, he felt the weight of his past lift, replaced instead by the bond of shared stories, hope, and the promise of better days to come. This was the moment, the culmination of an incredible transformation. Now, more than ever, he embraced the unknown path ahead with open arms. To all of you watching, this is your chance to join us on this journey. You need to subscribe now to witness the inspiring stories ahead, because your support means everything. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm. Comment your thoughts and feelings about Harold's incredible ending, and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to know they're not alone. Don't wait not even one more second to be a part of this transformation.